This film is a collection of stories about a Year 8 project called 60 Springs. Puke Ariki is working with Devon Intermediate to examine life at Pukekura Park.
The subjects we are covering include bird life,
Fish life,
insect life,
and frogs.
Each group was asked to document their study on video. Here are their stories.
Most people would think that there are no frogs at Pukekura Park.
We sent the 3 coolest kids in Year 8 from Devon Intermediate to investigate potential frog life at the park.
Frogs are shy creatures, so it is pretty hard to find them. Our first task was to find evidence of frogs, and the most obvious starting point was to see if we could discover any tadpoles.
Using nets, we sampled various parts of the lakes to see if we could find any tadpoles.
Guess what? We've just found a tadpole.
Crikey!
Yes,
look
crikey.
at that,
Look at
Sheila.
that, Sheila. She's a big one, alright.
Of course, being the coolest kids in Year 8, we did find tadpoles which we collected in specimen boxes.
We didn't actually hear any frogs, but since tadpoles grow up to be frogs, it is a safe bet that they do live in the park.
It is a very good sign to find tadpoles because it shows the park is healthy.
Our project is not yet finished, and on our next trip we will hope to find some actual frogs.
Our Year 8 insect group from Devon Intermediate went to Pukekura Park to survey insect life, including glowworms. Finding insects means getting our hands dirty and using a few insect catching techniques. These include pitfall traps that catch ground insects in a tarpaulin experiment, where we spread a tarpaulin sheet on the ground under a tree and then we shake the tree to collect insects. We are also going to do a light trap for seeing flying insects at night. We surveyed insect life from a number of places in and around the park. We found lots of different insects, including spiders, millipedes, springtails, and flying insects. We also hope to do a survey on glowworms and count how many there are in the park, where they are, and more for tourism purposes. A lot of people like to see the glowworms every year. Signs of insect life is a good indication of the health of the park, since they are an important part of the food chain. We found that there is a lot of different insects in and around the park. This project is not finished, and we hope to do a light trap to find flying insects at night.
We are the Year 8s at Devon Intermediate and are in the 60 Springs project at Pukekura Park. Our task is to monitor the water birds' movement throughout Pukekura Park.
We have been monitoring the birds in and around the 5 main lakes: the Bowl Lake, Lily Lake, Upper Lake, Main Lake and the Fountain Lake.
Our first shot here is at the Bowl Lake. We were looking at the different species of birds, the quantities and the birds' behaviour.
Here we are at the Lily Lake. This bird is a male mallard duck and this is a female grey duck.
This is the Upper Lake. Very few birds inhabit this area.
This shot was taken from Poets Bridge overlooking the main lake. Most birds come here for food because the cafe is next to the main lake and people tend to throw their leftover food to the birds. Here we are surveying the birds.
Most of our survey was focused on ducks. Ducks can be pests even though they bring tourists to the park. They make the other birds' lives harder. They also make the people that work at the park lives harder because they poo everywhere and sometimes the ducks have relocated to another lake.
We are the Year 8 fish group at Devon Intermediate and our task is to find out what species and fish are in the lake at Pukekura Park. A flow meter calculates how fast the water is flowing. Some fish species don't like fast flowing water and might have trouble migrating upstream. Other tests we did included water temperature, water clarity, GPS location and water level. We did these tests to clarify how they might affect the fish population. During the day trips we saw goldfish and eels, but we couldn't confirm the species because we couldn't catch them. Our project is not finished as we hope to do a night survey and catch and identify the species in the park. The reason why we are studying fish is so they can grow in population and swim into other streams outside the park.
The 60 Springs project is an ongoing study, which all the students enjoyed. The research aspect was particularly interesting as we used many techniques we hadn't encountered before.
This project will continue in the future and be a valuable asset to the understanding of life in the park.